All right, I think this is a good time for us to segue into part 3. We're going to talk about what your interpretation is or what your insights are for the future of the industry, what's happening, where you see things going, and we can talk about how that pertains to events and the farm tours or otherwise. Compassionate use is something that's coming into play right now. Berkeley Patients Group and the work that you've done has certainly contributed to that. I know we talked a little bit about just how, you know, people are more aware of public safety from being on your part of your tour. So there's a lot of value that you're bringing to people. What would you like to talk about in terms of the future?
Well, in terms of the future, I'd like to really just address first and foremost kind of what's going on right now. I mean, right now, with everything kind of slumped over on itself with the coronavirus, with this COVID-19 epidemic, we are in a position right now where we're taking this opportunity of to slow down and to reevaluate what we're doing, reevaluate how we're doing it, and how can we be better when we come out of this. So just generally speaking, I am at a point now where, you know, we are tightening things up. We are using this opportunity to tighten things up. And then the other thing I was going to mention about what's going on right now too is that I am watching global markets right now and kind of seeing where, like, we're hearing and reading things right now that in China, you know, they're kind of over this hump already, and they're starting to see a lot of rapid return to tourist opportunities. Like, people are dying to get out of the house at this point.
Oh yeah, cabin
and
fever strong.
Yeah, so being able to kind of relaunch in a way that's going to make sense for this new world is going to be important to us.
Great. What do you want to share some of those thoughts about how you might approach this?
Health and safety are going to be you know, harm reduction is going to be like the top priority for people, making people comfortable in this new space.
Okay, hold on. Let me jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
So I read an article about a Taiwanese doctor who suggested that there was a security breach at Fort Detrick, and that happened early 2019. There's a New York Times article that I can share in the comments or in the information below. But the suggestion is that we were already exposed to a pulmonary disease, which then was called the Vape Crisis. And I thought that was really interesting to consider. I mean, not saying that's true, it's one, you know, consideration, but I thought that was really interesting. And one of the things that I thought was very beneficial to come from that, as much as it really hit our industry hard, was that some companies have been saying that they were offering 100% cannabis in their vape carts, and they weren't.
Right.
So we're now all much more vigilant in terms of what that line. I'm a product manager. I bring products to market. So for me to hear that the product manager didn't know what was happening in the marketing, I don't buy it. I'm very hands-on. I want to make sure everybody knows in marketing what's happening inside the products, right? So there's this concept that potentially they didn't know, but I think they do, and I think we're all much more vigilant in terms of what goes into our products. Is that something that you think you'll be talking about?
I mean, we've always talked about it, and here's the thing: like, one of the things that my company, we've always done as part of our mission is I put the education of my guests above and beyond. Like, I don't sell products. That's not my job. My job is to give people a great experience. But a lot of people will turn to me in this experience and look to me as the product, as their advisor on products. And, you know, even if I've taken money from any particular product or brand, I'm still going to be 100% honest about what's in that brand, what's in that product, what's how it's made, if I know anything about how it's made. I talk about the goods and the bads. I mean, look, we have tested clean products on our shelves in California, and I stand by that, and I stand by the efforts of all of our hardworking colleagues that are doing everything they can to ensure that we have clean, safe products on the shelves every day in California. But I will also tell you that Some products are better than others, and I have an opinion, and I will share that opinion, but I will share an honest, educated, informed opinion with my guests every time they ask for one. And so that's the important part, is getting their questions answered, making them feel comfortable about whether it's the vape pen that they're worried about, or it's the flower that they don't know what the strain is. Like, there's a lot of education that happens on our experiences that I think really makes what we do here so important to this burgeoning industry, but from the perspective of the consumer. We always talk in our industry about how are we better, sellers of cannabis? How are we better manufacturers of cannabis? How do we better ourselves as the supply side? But what I'm sitting here every day doing is like, how do I think like my customer who doesn't really know anything about cannabis, or doesn't know enough, or is misinformed, or has heard about the vape crisis but doesn't really know what it all means? Like, these are the demystification questions that I think of every day, or I think about every day, to be able to serve my guests better. And you know what? It's listening to them. It's listening to your customer is the number one way you can respond to them. Just listen and listen for the intricacies that you don't always get on the surface.
I really appreciate that. I think you touched on something that for me, I think is quite important as well, that doesn't get a lot of attention, is that right now we are shaping the culture. We are the ones saying, mindful consumption, this is what you're looking for in your strains, or how you want the energetic you want to experience, the intention
Right.
that you can create for yourself. And I think that's something that doesn't get a lot of attention, unfortunately, because we are at a pinnacle point where people are coming into the light. And so many people who have never experienced cannabis before are having an opportunity to be introduced. And you're giving them a little bit of cultural reference, historical reference, which is so valuable. But you're also shaping where they go with this and what their perspectives are. One of the big issues is edibles, for example. If people aren't guided appropriately to dosing, they could just overdose themselves, have an unpleasant experience, and never touch it again. So like just having like a little bit of one-on-one experience, and having someone to be your sort of guide to plant medicine is so extraordinary. So thank you very much for contributing in that way, in so many ways, and everything you've done in the past up to this point.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what's really funny is that when I started this job, when I started working this gig, I had no idea that was such a huge component of it. Like, when you start, you're like, oh, I'm going to show people like a farm, and I'm going to show people, but then you start listening to them, and you start listening to their questions, and you're like, wow, you're here for a completely different reason. And so, and so just being able to respond to the guests in the way that they want to, the way that they're there for, the way that they want to, what they're trying to learn is taught, is a real success in, over time for me. And I think that anybody getting into this space of being an ambassador to the industry through tourism, through cannabis tourism, needs to stop and realize that it's more about listening and not about talking.
I would like to thank you very much. I want to say to our audience, if you would, please go ahead and reach out to Emerald Farm Tours about when they're going to have their next event, so that you can schedule yourself to participate and be a part of that experience. Small companies that are providing this experience and giving a historical reference and guiding, sometimes our international audience through this process of legal, safe cannabis medicine is extremely important. So we appreciate your support in supporting events and helping events to be successful after we close this period of quarantine and go out into the world again. Thank you very much. And Victor, thank you again for being here. Would you tell our audience how they can find you and Emerald Farm Tours?
Yeah, so best way to do it is emeraldfarmtours.com, or on Instagram, Emerald Farm Tours. I mean, just check us out. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, but that's the primary way. Just get us on the website, get us on Instagram. And if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to do any sort of engagements, if you have any creative ways, even during quarantine, that we can support your business, let us know. We're always here for you guys.
Fantastic. So I will thank everybody for watching. If you're watching, if you're listening, thank you for listening to Conscious Cannabiz. You can support this podcast by visiting consciouscannabiz.com. My name is Courtney Aura Freeman. I'm your host. You can find me on Instagram at Courtney Aura Freeman. You can also find me at consciouscannabiz.com. And you can watch video clips from this interview on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit the bell to alert so that you'll know when we have new episodes. Thanks again, and wishing you all health and wellness. Victor, wishing you and your family and your loved ones health and wellness during this time. Signing off. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.